GM. This is morning markets. It is Tuesday, the 16th of September. So we have FOMC tomorrow. That means that today probably sets up for a day where we trade within Monday's candle and don't break either side of it. And then going into FOMC tomorrow, Wednesday, the markets are pricing in one rate cut. So that has fully been priced in. The only surprise could be if we see 2 rate cuts or even no rate cuts, which would be unlikely because Powell doesn't tend to surprise the markets. He very much telegraphs his decision. Therefore, what's really going to be interesting is Powell's speech tomorrow. How does he talk about monetary policy for the rest of 2025? How do markets price in the amount of rate cuts left in 2025 based on that? That's all going to be the market moving stuff. But today, as for expectations, strictly looking at Tuesday, probably going to see price trade within Monday's range here. So between 114.3 and 116.8. And when we head into the meeting, that's when we can then see a whipsaw of both directions. And from there, markets will pick a direction. Either we rally, break the highs, retest and go higher, or that's where we start breaking down, and potentially that sets up a move to target some of these lower end liquidity that has been building up around here. So that's when the volatility is going to come. It's going to be after FOMC, after Powell's speech, and again, wouldn't be surprised for a whipsaw both sides during his speech, taking Monday's liquidity on either end, and then the break from either to the upside or the downside likely sets up the next trend throughout the rest of September. So that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. Of course, we've been pretty up only so far in September. We set the low right on September the 1st, actually. And just to look at the monthly candle briefly here, a real key level that you want to see Bitcoin start to get above is the open of last month's candle. Because if we start to break above there, then what you're having is a setup which can likely take Bitcoin towards these highs, even if it's just for an attempt. Because markets tend to want to turn these red candles into a bullish order block, like you would see over here when you get above the close on this candle here. That then turns into an order block. And even if it fails, like this example here, you still had an attempt, sweep, close back inside. Well, that tells you a reversal is likely, but an attempt to test the supply over there is probably likely if we can flip this interim level here. So that is 115.7k that I'm looking at, and that's where we've initially found some sellers. So I want to see Bitcoin get above there, because then it's likely to test that 120k, if not the highs there later on in the week, if we stay below it. And you see that pattern that I just shared on FOMC, well, you're likely to go for a retest towards 110. So that's really it for Bitcoin. Nothing exciting today in terms of trades. I wouldn't be taking any positions today other than obviously the swing position that you guys know I've got open from the weekly ledger video. I'm completely flat outside of that and not looking for any longs or shorts pre-FOMC day, because I just think it's going to be a chop day and an inside candle within Monday's range. So let's take a look at the wider market. Let's compare it to BTC, because what we've been seeing is profit taking on altcoins while Bitcoin holds up strong. And if you guys watched the weekly ledger, I told you that I'm expecting, if we are going to see upside in the crypto market, it's going to be through Bitcoin, and it's going to be Bitcoin outperformance. Since Ethereum's had its good run, Solana's had its good run, still could be more left in Solana, don't get me wrong, but the best gains of this rally are certainly behind us, because we've gone from a low of 95 all the way to 250. So that is a 160% gain over a 2x. Traders, anyone who caught that move is going to be entering that supply zone when they think about taking profits. Whether that outweighs the demand or not, I'm not sure, but it is an area of resistance. It's as simple as that until the all-time high at 300 is flipped. So what did we see? Well, if we flick to the daily and compare them both. So as Bitcoin had a green day on Monday, Solana actually had a big red day. So we're seeing profit taking on altcoins. If we look at something like Dogecoin, same story. Bitcoin had a green day on Monday, whereas Dogecoin had a big red day. So again, we're seeing that profit taking on altcoins, whereas Bitcoin held up stronger. That's that relative strength. That's where capital is flowing. Doesn't mean Bitcoin is going to go up. It could outperform on the downside by going down less than altcoins. But as I said, if we are going to have a bullish reaction to FOMC, I want to be long Bitcoin for that exposure in case Bitcoin is simply lagging behind stocks, which are at all-time high in price discovery. Gold, which is at all-time high in price discovery. And as I've been saying, with gold, you really just want to see it not ideally break out immediately for immediate continuation. But that being said, overall, if gold does break out higher, that is going to be good for Bitcoin because it leads to more capital rotations and profit taken on gold into Bitcoin when the rotation begins. And the higher gold goes, the more profits there is. However, we're waiting for that consolidation to allow Bitcoin to run to its respective all-time high resistance level, anywhere near that 120k to 125k. So keeping an eye on gold here. Obviously, it closed the week pretty strong. We're making new highs on a close basis every week, so yet to be seen how this weekly candle closes. But for now, we made a new daily high yesterday on Monday going into FOMC, and we're pushing higher again. So you really want to see some sort of weakness here appear on the low time frames on gold, which potentially it will. What I would watch for that is these EMA bands, which I don't currently have on, but we've got the 12 and 21 EMA bands. Also can use the H150 EMA band, but at the moment we're respecting these 12 and 21s. If this gets disrespected, then that's an early sign that we could be going into chop and consolidation. So watching out for that carefully in today's session, and I want to see where does gold close by the end of the New York session. That's going to be giving some potential insight into where the next capital rotation is going to be. So that's it for Bitcoin. And even when we look at Bitcoin dominance, to explain the story, I was saying, we're seeing that altcoin rotation, and that is shown in this chart here where we've had 2 green days on Bitcoin dominance. Are we going to see this chart have a little bounce? It's been in a violent downtrend really since June. It's been respecting the 12 and 21 EMA bands on the way down. So very simple. If we start to flip these EMA bands and we can flip them green, well, that's when you're going to get your Bitcoin outperformance. Again, that doesn't mean Bitcoin's going to go up. Bitcoin can outperform on both the downside and the upside by simply going down less than altcoins or going up more than altcoins, and that leads to Bitcoin dominance chart rising higher. So yet to be seen which scenario we get, but as I said, with these daily 12 and 21 bands flipping green, I think this is a good shot for Bitcoin to at least make a move towards the highs and to test them before losing these bands. Because if we lose them, then you're looking at downtrend continuation going into the rest of September, which is very possible. We could just go into FOMC, lose this low, have a bit of volatility and then downtrend, and even just build a lower high here. That's possible, and that would keep all the structure on the daily at least intact. And perhaps these bands go red, then they go back green, and you get that classic fake out move where they then flip green again here. And that just means you have to get in later on again, playing the same trade. I'm not sure, but that's the setup I've been looking at and waiting for that triggered for me as detailed in Trade of the Week. So not much interesting going on in the market today. Even when you look at something like Ethereum, it's just bleeding. Again, you're seeing that altcoin profit taking across the entire altcoin market. So it's really all eyes on BTC for the next move. That's what I'm looking at today. Again, expecting not much. The low and high of Monday probably doesn't get tagged today, and we have an inside candle. So no trades today. Very simple one. Just watching and seeing the New York session closes on Bitcoin, on stocks, on gold, and on your altcoins. So take it from there. Take it easy today. No need to take any big setups because we're going to see volatility most likely Wednesday, Thursday, Friday towards the end of the week. So don't get yourself poorly positioned today. Of course, if it's a swing trade, multi-day, multi-week hold, that's fine. But for scalping, day trading, your best volatility is going to come tomorrow. So that's it for morning markets. That's a quick one, but big day tomorrow. I'll be covering that in tomorrow's morning market video. I'll see you then.